I'm going to share it to my page. Probably not. Oh, yeah.
Well, what's going on, everybody? How are you doing, Mr. Matt?
I'm here. Feel like it's been a while since we've done one of these, hasn't
Yeah, it's been a bit, but we got the show on the road here. We're knocking it out. You had an exciting weekend, and I had an exciting week. Yours was in person. Mine was in front of the screen, but nonetheless, an exciting week it was. I'm all cockeyed here. Let's get that fixed. There we go. There we go. My hat was all sideways there. Yeah. So a really fun weekend in race action. Let's start off though with what you had cooking over the weekend, because you got to do some in person stuff, and you also before the weekend you went live. Was it 2 weekends ago, or was it last week when you did the questionnaire deal there? Tell them about that deal too.
Yeah, so the other, what was that, like 2 Saturdays maybe ago now, one of my friends, Jason Klinger, races 270 micros here in PA. Excuse me. And they did a fundraiser for him, and his son is getting into quarter midgets. It's his first year racing. And they teamed up with another team, and their driver is going from the quarter midgets up to the 270. So they decided to do this little fundraiser and said, "Hey, do you want to do this Q&A with us to get to know the drivers?" So I obliged. It was fun. For those that watched, I don't know how many it was. I had microphone issues with the DJ. The microphone did not work when I was on stage for whatever
I
reason.
feel like you got a
So
loud enough. You're loud enough. It was all
yeah,
good.
I said right on stage, I was like, yeah, I have a loud mouth, so I'll just talk. And actually, the feedback from the fundraiser itself was everybody loved the Q&A, and that's what made it stand out compared to everything else. So, breaking news for that, they will be doing it next year, and I was asked to not only come back and do the Q&A, but to probably MC the entire event. So, I'm looking forward to that for next year. Can't wait to see what they do this year on track. And then this Sunday, bad timing for PA dirt racing to get postponed from Saturday to Sunday, because missed out on a really good IndyCar race, missed out on a really good NASCAR race, but I get to watch a really good dirt race in person, so there's always that.
Yeah, it was the icebreaker. It was the shindig to start it all. There we had the guest Michael Millard. He was out there. He threw it down. He said he had a blast. He was out there, really putting his skills to the test there, as it was a tough track. You were saying, not only was it a tough track, but the competition, obviously in PA, it's a little tough.
Yeah. So what people don't understand here is in PA is like when it's cold, it's cold. When it's not cold, it's not cold. So we had on Friday, it rained, a little bit of freezing rain and all that stuff. And Saturday it was nice, a little windy, no big deal. And Sunday it was probably about like 48, 49 degrees with some wind. And man, I tell you what, day racing in PA usually is a joke. Track is usually there's no passing, there's nothing. And by the time we got to the feature, it was great. Devin Borden, Michael's buddy that we were joking about, started 24th, got all the way up to 11th.
Nice.
It was insane. You don't see that too often on a day surface. Not much passing in the heat, single file for the most part. Little passing here and there. But man, it was a great way to start off the year. Can't wait to get back there. Might not be this weekend, but probably next weekend. And going to be hitting some double races here starting in March 14th, I believe it is. The Grove will be opening, so can't wait for that.
So did you get to take the missus out to her first dirt race ever?
I did. She actually had a blast. There was quite a few questions being asked on what's going on and what's this. But the one thing she said, and you are a fan, and most everybody that is watching is a fan, and I want everybody's opinion on this too. The one thing she said that she thought was cool was the adrenaline rush you get as a fan watching the race.
Oh, absolutely.
And that was a big thing that was good with that race too, was the adrenaline rush. A lot of good racing, a lot of slide jobs being pulled. She thought that some of the fans, crazy fans in the infield, were a little wild.
A little crazy, a little wild. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But she got exposed to it, and she seemed like she enjoyed it. She says she wants to go back, so that's always a good sign.
Nice, very nice. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, you gotta love when you go out there and you take them and they enjoy it. They really have a good time with it. So that's I remember myself taking my daughter. I was able to take her out to her first one, and when we did that, it was just an absolute blast there. And like you said, I mean, she's got some questions. Where'd you guys sit? That's because I got a funny story about that.
So if you can't tell by the hat, it says Beer Hill Gang. The Beer Hill Gang is actually turn 3 up between two bleachers at the Grove, but we stand in the infield at Lincoln Speedway because there's a lot more space. You can.
So you kept her clean. Around. She didn't get smacked with dirt.
No. We're gonna wait for Williams Grove for that one, for her to get exposed to that.
So my daughter, my dad, my daughter, and myself, we went out to Lawrenceburg here. And we were absolutely having a blast out there. But the funniest thing was my daughter, she was like playing a game. Let's dodge the dirt, dodge the dirt. Dad got walloped. And I'm saying a clump of mud. Like, this thing wasn't dirt. It was a clump of mud made it through the gate or the fence. And a lot of times you see them explode. It's like a comet or something coming into the atmosphere. It just disintegrates, But this clump of mud did not explode. It did not dissipate at all, and hit Dad square in between the legs. It was phenomenal to watch there. We all got a good chuckle out of that one after a moment. But my daughter definitely got introduced into the world of dirt racing there. Pretty nice. I like that.
Well, I do want to say that because you said about we had Millard on and we said about he posted about his results or whatever. He actually not looked bad in his heat race for never being there. I guess he had a little bit of a too rich of a fuel and he just couldn't get up to speed in the B main because he dropped from third to the back. But he held his own. His line looked great. He's got a bright future there. I think he's going to do really well. But man, I'll tell you what. He was going up against some of the best in the business, and for him to do what he did, it was pretty cool. After we got to talk to him now and got to see him race in person, it's just kind of like, all right, we see you, Michael. We see what you're doing. Like that's let's get this going for the whole year, buddy. Let's go.
Right. Absolutely there. So who ended up taking the icebreaker? Who walked away with the win?
Fast Freddie Raymer. For anybody who knows anything dirt racing, his dad, it's Freddie Raymer Jr., but his dad was Fast Freddie Raymer as well. That was his first career icebreaker. He's a 2-time defending champion, driving for a legend around PA, Rich Eichelberger, no longer in his family-owned equipment. And there was actually a little bit of funny controversy between Danny Dietrich and Anthony Macri. Those two are friends. Danny pulled a slider, made a little contact on the front end of Anthony Macri. Macri came on the radio post-race and said that he does not believe he'll be getting a Christmas card from Danny this year. Good fun. Yeah.
What a way to start off the season. Yeah, you're joking around, but in the back of your mind, the rest of the season, you're thinking, if you're the dude that threw the slide job, it's coming back. At some point, it's coming back. And if you're the guy that got the slide job thrown, you're like, man, I got to take my friend out at some point. It's got to happen. I got to do it.
Macri beat him anyway, so it's not really that big of a deal. Macri beat Danny in that race.
You still got to get him back. You still got to get him back.
Right.
Excuse me.
But we have a long season to go. I mean, this was the first of many. We go all the way to November here, so there'll be plenty of races for me to go to, plenty of races for her to go to, and I'm sure we're going to have a lot of crazy stories for you, too.
Absolutely. No doubt about that. I guess we move on here. Is an exciting action, like you said, on the dirt track. And it was Sunday. It did get postponed there from Saturday. Sunday, we got to see some of, I'm not going to say the best, but I am going to say people, what do you want to start with, NASCAR or IndyCar? Let's put it that way.
Well, let's just start with what came first on the day with the IndyCar race, because I got to listen to a majority of the IndyCar race on my way to the race itself.
So IndyCar, I'm a huge fan. That's my number one. I absolutely love IndyCar. Picked Will Power to win that. I think he had a great strategy. Just got caught shy on that first caution. I think really kind of got him there because it allowed those guys on the Reds to pit at the same time there as Will, and then Will kind of starting out on those blacks or the whites there, whatever I'm not sure what they call them there, but the
alternates, the primaries.
So you got those out there, and wasn't able to take full advantage of those with that yellow because it brought him in. Obviously, you're not going to stay out there for like 4 laps, and that I think that threw him off. But he had a good run. You picked Colton Herta, a very strong competitor here at St. Pete, and he showed what he was about there. Again, I don't know if it was by any fault of the team or if it was just a bad strategy call, but they did not fuel him all the way in one of the stops, and he had to then, at the end of the race, really hold back and try to save some fuel. So wasn't able to charge up like we've seen Colton Herta at St. Pete. But let's I know Keegan and Matt, those guys, they're going to be listening to this tomorrow in the future whenever they listen to it. And if we don't mention Scott McLaughlin right now, they're just gonna fly over here and get us. They're going to get us. But wow, what a win by Scotty! We saw his dominance and what he could do in the V8 supercars. And you know, he took a whole year, really got used to the seat here in IndyCar. And now he's set. I think the IndyCar world needs to watch out for the new number 3 there at Penske.
Yeah, you know what? You and I talked about him before we did the podcast about how good he was going to be in that car. But our picks, neither one of us included him in any of our picks, which was kind of surprising to see how dominant that he really was. Like, I got to listen to most of the race. I followed it on Twitter as much as I could because obviously it was hard to really watch it down there. But I mean, the charge at the end by your boy Pillow that you picked.
That's a bad call there.
But to the point of what you and I have discussed, though, like we did not think Ganassi was going to be that strong on Sunday, and like they came out of the box firing. I mean, who would have thought though? Like a little bit early struggles to figure the car out in practice and stuff, but you got Pillow, who's a champion, and that drive he made at the end to even try and get anywhere close to Scotty was impressive.
That was absolutely phenomenal there. And go to that, you know, I was listening into the post conference at the race, and you hear Will Power. He's talking about the moment when Jimmy Johnson kind of, I'm not going to say got in the way, but he got in the way, and really made it hard. And that's just what goes kind of what's even worse about the situation is that Will Power earlier in the week was talking about, hey, I think we need to make a rule about these guys. Like, you guys are doing the lap down, but if they're about to go a lap down, they're really fighting and they're hitting that push to pass, and it's really, getting under the leader's skin. And I don't know what I'm for here. I don't know if I'm for throwing that blue flag. I think it's got to be kind of track discretion. You got to track like St. Pete, a very tight street course like it is, and I really think that the blue flag probably should have been thrown on Jimmy. Will then upset because he was making a run. He had enough fuel to make it to the end comfortably and use his push to pass at the same time, where the guys up in the front, Scott and Alex, were told, hey, don't push that bad boy. Don't push that push to pass, because you do, we're going to have to come in here and stop for gas. So you make a choice there which one you want to do, and both of those guys, I think that really goes to show Alex Pillow. I'm not going to say Scott Dixon is done, but I think the focus in that team may start to turn to Alex Pillow over Scott Dixon.
Yeah. You know what? And one thing you and I really, again, didn't really factor in or talk about was, like, what about the disappointment with Alexander Rossi, though? I mean, yeah, he led 10 laps in that race, but, like, was never really much of a factor.
That was a strategy thing. I really think that was a strategy deal there, because he was one of the few that was on the 3-stop deal. Yeah.
But still though, like, even on 3 stops, you're talking though, he still would have had a chance, considering like Scott Dixon was on 3 stops. And
yeah, and you are right there. Scott pulled off a decent run. I mean, Scott knew going into the last quarter of that race, like, hey, at this point, I'm just trying to get a top 10. But you are right. And I think that is something we've seen Alexander Rossi in the past couple years, really, since he really went for that title and just lost by a few points. He came back that next year, and that team really just hasn't been what it was. I think he was the focus for the first couple years he was there after winning the 100th running of the 500. But after that, we've seen that change of focus go to Colton Herta, and now, more recently, go to Grosjean, and really seeing what he can do. And you start to wonder. I mean, we've heard so much talk about Andretti in F1, Herta being his driver. So I'm not going to say Herta's not focused, because we know Herta's focused throughout this season. He's a driver. He's a champion. I do believe he's got that mentality. So he's definitely focused in the task at hand. But at the same time, he's got other things going on in his mind. He's wondering, how am I going to get this super license? I'm going to be in F1. He's thinking to himself in 2 years. 2024, Andretti's pretty much said, we're going to be running a car that's backed with Renault. So Colton Herta pretty much stepping into that F1 ride here in America for an American team. And you got to wonder, I mean, they're not going to put Grosjean there. So does the team kind of move that focus towards Grosjean here to get him that championship and to bring Andretti back up to that top tier team? Because like I said, the past few years, it's not been the case.
No. And, just going through looking at the results, because obviously I didn't get to watch the whole thing, just seeing some of the names that were in here. And, we talked about Grosjean. We both are on the same page. Like, we think he's a title contender.
Mm-hmm.
But the one thing, like, I know that you and I've mentioned about, because of the teaming up that they have, especially when it comes to the road side and now and the oval side, is Rinus VeeKay. There's another name, like, out of nowhere, top 10, first race of the year. We know he has talent. He's in the Ed Carpenter machine. Ed Carpenter hasn't always been the best at road racing, and Rinus has been. Listen, the radio broadcast, they were talking a lot of great things about him too. So I think, like, just from this race alone, I think we're going to have a really good title battle throughout the entire field.
Absolutely.
To be honest with you.
I think if you look down the field and just off the top of my head, you got Grosjean, you got McLaughlin, you got Will Power, I think could really contend for this fight here. You got Colton Herta. Pillow, obviously, going to be in that mix. I'm going to even throw in Marcus Ericsson, because I think he's starting to get on his game here, and that Ganassi car is showing to be a strong ride. You've got Pat O'Ward, so you've got 7 guys right there off the top of my head that I think could really, really make a run for this championship this year.
So just from the top 10 alone, okay, from this race on Sunday, and I'll just run through it quick. You got McLaughlin, Palou, Power, Herta, Grosjean, VK, Graham Rahal, Scott Dixon, Marcus Ericsson, Takuma Sato. That top 9 alone are like top-notch title contenders. And that's,
you can't throw Takuma out of that, honestly, because if he has some solid runs, we've seen Ware has been able to make some podium contenders here in IndyCar. So I don't throw Takuma out of that. I mean, we've all seen what Takuma is going to do in a top-tier team, but he's one guy that, man, he really could throw it down. And if he wins the Indy again, that's a big if, but he knows how to do it. And if he gets it done, that's a double points race. So that's obviously going to just propel you through to another tier there. It'll be interesting. That's exactly. I mean, we saw a phenomenal championship battle last year with F1 between Verstappen and Hamilton. And I really think IndyCar is going to give us a better battle this year between more drivers. So I think it's going to be an absolute blast. And you mentioned VK. Something about after his injury last year, when he got involved in that bike accident, he was riding a bike, broke his collarbone. He just never could get that coming after getting back in there and getting a feel for it. I think that's completely rehabilitated now. I think he feels comfortable. That scared me half to death. I thought that was you. But no, I think he's very comfortable, I think. So it's interesting to see how that will work out, like you said, because I do. You can't count him out of this either. You definitely can't count him out of this, and that's the thing. Another thing they were talking about on the broadcast is these cars are so old at this point that they're past the point of really making new regulations, making new rules on these cars because they've ran them so long that it's pretty much these teams know what they've got now, and even the lower tier teams. They've had plenty of time to get it all figured out. It's going to be a fun season. Yeah, well, the only reason why it's nothing against Sato because I like Sato, but then you look behind him and there's guys that are Dixon, Ericsson.
Yeah, well, no, because Dixon's up in the top 10, but just the guys behind Sato, you got Pato Ward, Elio's in there, you got Pagano, you got Newgarden, you got Rosenquist. If Rosenquist can figure his stuff out, he's a contender. I think. If you're looking on a consistent basis on guys that are going to compete
Rossi
for that championship, Rossi. So the top 9 from Sunday, I think, are some of the most consistent. And again, nothing against Sato because come Indy, he's going to be a guy that you're going to want to look at to take in any sort of fantasy picks. But you got Simon Pagano. You can't really count Simon out because he's always been there.
Exactly. And those guys have a solid car this year, too. Right. That's the other thing. So
right.
Joe's a fan of Scott Dixon, and he's saying, don't forget about Rosenquist. Let's talk about Rosenquist for a moment, though, because came on banging into the scene, left the number 10 car. The next year, it wins the title. Obviously, that's got to do a lot about the driver. I do think Alex Palou, a top-tier driver, but is Rosenquist really the driver that we thought he was? Is he the guy that is going to get that Arrow McLaren into victory lane this year? Or are they going to be kind of weighing on the back of Pato O'Ward again?
I don't know. So that's a tough question because Pato has proven in the past how good of a driver he is. And I think Arrow McLaren's a really good team, but you're talking that they both have to compete against Penske and Ganassi and even Andretti now with Colton Herta and Romain Grosjean. So I think Rosenquist can be there. I don't know if he's a number 1 guy there though. I really think Pato O'Ward is their number 1 guy. And I think it showed just on Sunday alone that Pato is the number 1 guy. And if you're going to dethrone him, you got to beat him head on, 1v1 on the racetrack. And I don't know if Rosenquist can do that on a consistent basis.
In my mind, honestly, here, this is what I'm thinking. We're going to see 2 of these IndyCar drivers move to F1 here in the next few years. One being Colton Herta, we've already talked about. The second being when Daniel Ricciardo's title or deal is up there with McLaren. I do believe Pato O'Ward will kind of feed his way into the F1 series. So I think those are two solid drivers. But that just goes to show you how competitive the IndyCar series is, because two guys that you would think are F1 talent, we're not necessarily talking them as our top pick. If you had to guess or pick a guy that you were going to say, hey, I'm going to go with him. I know it's a tough pick, and I'm putting you on the spot right now, but who do you think after one race looks like they could really take this title here in IndyCar?
I mean, yeah, that's really a tough spot. The obvious pick is Scott McLaughlin.
I agree with you. He looked dominant, absolutely dominant.
But your defending champion was right there. You know what I'm saying? Like so how? Honestly, I think Palou goes back to back. As much I want to pick Scotty as the champion, and he looks great. I think he's such an obvious pick that I think Palou goes back to back. I think he's that guy. He is our next Scott Dixon.
And like I said, I agree with you there. We're starting to see the transition, I think, in the team to kind of focus more on Palou, and rightfully so. So it'll be interesting to see how that all winds out and how that works out for him, as obviously Dixon getting to the end of his career here. So anything else you want to add on IndyCar? We head to Texas next on the Oval, a couple weeks away. So these guys switch from a tight street course to some high-speed oval racing at Texas with some nasty, stupid PJ crap up on there that's not going to help them race whatsoever.
Well, anybody that's watching, if you are an IndyCar fan, let us know who you think your early title contender is right now. My take is, I'm sure we'll talk about it next week after the Indy race anyways. I think Texas will be the crapshoot race. I mean, everybody talks about Indy being that race, because the prestige and it can make or break your season. But I think Texas is going to prove who is the best driver. We're, as we said about, Scotty and Alex going head to head, being 1-2 in points. I think whoever can go to Texas and be the fastest car down there, like the entire weekend, not necessarily win, but be the fastest car. I think that is probably going to be who your champion is, because Texas is such a tough track for an oval for IndyCar. I'm pretty sure that's who our champion will be at the end of the year.
Joe's calling Scott Dixon. He's a big fan there. And the one thing Scott's got going for him, unfortunately, Scott's never won that darn championship back-to-back. So he is coming off of his year of not winning it. So hopefully he can get back on that, is what Joe's thinking. Scott's they call him the Iceman for a reason. You can't count him out until his number doesn't pull anymore. So I think obviously that's a huge person to keep an eye on. And I somewhat agree with you about Texas, but I'm gonna say the ovals in general, because obviously with the series so heavy on the road course, street course, these 3-4 ovals, I can't remember. You got Indy, Texas, Iowa, and Gateway. So 4 ovals. They're going to be the say all be all, because you look at guys like we're talking about Rosenquist, one of those guys that he could contend for a title, but historically really doesn't do ovals very well. Grosjean, never been on an oval outside of Gateway. So the next race is going to be huge to see if Grosjean's going to be a contender. McLaughlin, I believe, did get his podium from last year at a oval race, so he's kind of already put it up there. But I want to say, these 4 oval races are really going to separate the men from the boys, if you will, the women from the girls, because I'm not going to count them out there either, because she had a fantastic ride there. AJ Foyt looking pretty tough, a lot better than what they had here. Dalton Kellett having a good run. Kirkwood doing a fantastic job. And, oh, my gosh, I just completely dropped her name.
Tatiana Calderon.
Thank you. She did pretty good. She was happy with her first race there, so gotta appreciate Foyt coming back with some power.
Yeah, well, I'll let you roll the R for her last name, because I obviously can't do it. So
the Calderon.
Yeah, that one.
Calderon. You gotta sound like you're in the mafia. The Calderon. But no, like I said, she did a really good job. She said she was very happy with that race. So I think, like I said, with Kellett having a good qualification and Kirkwood having a decent first run, that team's looking up. So definitely excited to see what IndyCar has to offer. But, man, NASCAR fans, if you're one of those guys, if you're one of those gals that said NASCAR needs to do something, NASCAR's a piece of crap, NASCAR just showed you they did something, and they put on one hell of a race here this past weekend. My goodness, what a show at Auto Club there. Did you see the highlight there at the end? I know you had to.
Okay, so I watched a little bit of the race. When I turned it on, Kyle Busch went spinning off the corner into the infield or towards the infield, and that made me mad, so I turned it off. Kyle Busch fan, for those that have never tuned into a show, which most of you have. I watched the highlights. I tell you, dude, that Kyle Larson Chase Elliott deal was kind of just like, really? But the racing itself looked like it was fantastic. That new car, I figured restrictor plate racing was going to be crappy, but it looks like anything under that is going to be a great race.
I almost don't want them to reconfigure Auto Club now. Like, I think that race, like you found a way to make Auto Club work, and it did. I mean, that was a really good race there. Do you think Larson saw him coming? Do you think Larson knew he was up there? Do you think he kind of pulled up there to go with him? What's your take on it? Everybody's got an opinion on that one.
Yeah, everybody's got an opinion. It was nice to see his spotter came out and said, "Yeah, I screwed that up."
Right.
But Larson had to know that he was there because these guys are definitely looking in their mirror a lot more than what people think. Like, he knew that Elliott was going to be there. I don't think he had intention of trying to hit him or put him in the wall like it looked like he did. Like, I don't think he meant it in that aspect, but I knew you could tell he knew what he was doing. Like, you just don't make that move just out of the blue.
So, and that's what everybody says. They were focusing on it was the 99, the Suarez, right down there at the time. So they were focused.
No, it was a 22. The Logano was on the bottom.
Yep. So they were focused on him there when it all happened, and that didn't see Chase coming. It happened. It went under. I don't know if you heard the radio from Chase. He was not a happy camper, something that NASCAR definitely could not play on the air. But what do you think of then the caution? Did Chase have something broke, or did Chase just say, you know what, Larson, you screwed me here, and I'm going to try to make this win very hard on you?
Yes. I think he might have had something break, but I don't think it was anything that would have caused him to spin out. I think he had his heart broken is what he had broke. No, I think he spun out intentionally. I don't want to say
it's so hard to not say he did. Or
yeah.
He didn't.
Yeah.
Man.
That was questionable. I mean, it wasn't as obvious. I mean, it was obvious, but it wasn't as obvious as that Richmond blow-up deal that they had years ago with Boyer and them.
Right.
Where they came over the radio and basically told him, "Oh, your arm hurts, spin out."
Yeah, exactly, right?
I don't know, man. Like, I want to believe that Elliott's not that type of person, but his personality's starting to really come out over these last few years. So,
and here's my take on that, if I can interject here, because I was talking to somebody, it may have been Kyle, about this one, is that I think Chase Elliott thought when he joined Hendricks that he was the next Jeff Gordon, the next Jimmy Johnson, that type that was going to be the top dog at Hendrick for the next 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 years. And then a year after his championship, they signed Kyle Larson. Kyle Larson not only comes in and wins a few races, Kyle Larson comes in, has a dominant season, and wins the title. I don't think a lot of people think Chase is the number one guy in that team anymore. I think that broke Chase's heart. I think it all kind of starts there. People kind of put these guys up to be buddies, and I don't think they're going to be anywhere close to being friends come the end of this season.
No, I agree with you, but to your same point, though, like, before they signed Kyle Larson, who's the number one driver at Hendrick Motorsports?
Chase, 100%.
Right. Then Larson knocks off 10 wins. Whoa.
Right. Absolutely. And Chase's heart's broken now. That's what I agree.
That's what I'm saying. So I agree with you. It's just like, But I don't think any of us expected Larson to do what he did last year. I
No.
mean, we all knew he was going to do good in that car, but 10 wins last year.
Yep.
I mean, come on, dude. Like that's Jeff Gordon numbers. We're not supposed to have any more Jeff Gordons anymore. We've had too many of them come through the ranks.
Yeah, he showed that I'm here to compete. And sorry about you if you thought this was just gonna be handed to you, because it ain't gonna happen like that. So I think it's interesting. Stetson says the Hendrick Power right now, all young drivers, and they all can win. And I agree with you, but there's a big but there. Those guys gotta work together. If they're not gonna work together, they're gonna end up fighting each other on the track. And you go fighting each other on the track, you got 4 of the fastest guys on the track fighting each other, and you don't want that. So you have to gel in the team. I think they got to get control of this. Jeff has to sit these guys down and say, guys, we got a long season ahead of us. We're going to need a little help here. We need you guys to really maintain your cool, maintain your composure, because, like I said, it's early. We got plenty of time here.
So to the extent of what we were talking about here between Elliott and Larson, do you feel like how I feel and think William Byron's the one getting the short end of the stick in that team now? Because Bowman's been quick in the 48 car, and I wouldn't say he's living up to the expectation of what the 48 car is supposed to be, because Jimmy Johnson exceeded that or excelled in that car, but William Byron has not been that guy. Like they said, he was going to be that guy that was going to come in. He was going to be a top tier driver, but he hasn't really lived up to that expectation. So do you feel like he's going to be the short end of the stick with that team?
I think it's like with Junior when he was there. You had other guys. You had Johnson. You had Gordon, and then you had Junior. So you had a guy that could get some consistent finishes. That's where I think Byron is really helping that team, is staying consistent. Yeah, he didn't have the best here this past week. And to hit on Joe's, he said Bowman had a good top 5 until he hit the wall. All the Hendricks cars that were remaining at that point almost went out at the same lap. That was a little terrifying for Jeff up there in the suite, I'm sure. But I think that Byron is still going to give you consistent finishes. And in that respect, he's going to win a race or two throughout the year. He's always going to be in the playoff. He's always going to kind of have a solid run through there. He just needs to catch fire at the end of the season, because I think at the end of the day, I think all 4 of these guys are pretty much guaranteed into the playoffs. I think all of them are going to get a win, so the whole winning in is going to be a deal. But I see what you're saying. I think Byron maybe if the pecking order, if you will, is definitely. And I'm going to be honest. It looks like I'd have Larson at my number 1 if we were ordering them. I'd have Larson, Bowman, Chase, Byron.
Right. Well, so I'm going to disagree with you that I think all 4 win. I don't think Byron gets a win, because just looking at the results from that race alone.
He got a shoe?
Yeah, he's got my steel toe. Dude, I deal with this every night. I'm glad this is a good entertainment for everybody tonight. This is what I deal with this dog good. At times. I don't think Byron gets a win, because look at the results just from this race alone. Look at the names that were in the top 10, and they were up there consistently for that race.
I think it's going to take some time for him to get into the car. I think that he may be having a little rougher time adjusting to the car. Go ahead with those guys you were talking about, though.
Well, look at Austin Dillon and Eric Jones, but I'll throw one even in there.
Jones is doing fantastic with this car.
What about Daniel Suarez? I think Suarez will get a win this year before Byron even gets anywhere close to getting a win this year, to be honest.
And so you got a point there. I mean, and that's the kind of the fun thing about this season is these guys getting used to this car. But I think Byron, he does have the knowledge. He's got that skill that he might not get it till halfway, but I do think he gets it. He catches up here to the rest of the field. And
even Tyler Reddick. Let's face it, Tyler Reddick doesn't have that issue.
He won that race. He could have ended up lapping everybody.
Right. So with this, I think Byron with the older car I could see as being the Dale Jr. of that team. But I think now with this new car, I think he's out in left field, and I don't think it's his fault. I just think everybody else has gotten so much better. And the fact that, yeah, Larson's probably the number one guy and Bowman's probably the number two guy, it puts pressure on Elliott to perform. I just think this leaves William Byron in just a tough spot because of how much better everybody else is doing and how much I wouldn't say he's struggled, but he's not these first two races, he just hasn't really been a contender.
Well, Elliott also just got his nice little extension there, so
Yeah.
I don't know how much he's really got to fight for it. Where you got Bowman and Byron, that they know those seats could be opening up here if they're not able to perform.
Right. Well, I mean, we're not our expert NASCAR guy is Kyle Westwood. So if he's watching, he's probably sitting here thinking that we're both crazy. So
I don't know. I would think he would agree with us about Bowman and Chase. I could be crazy. I could be crazy.
We are crazy.
But yeah, I do think so. But yeah, like I said, I think NASCAR comes out. Fans wanted something new. They got something new, and I think it was a really good show. I think they did a great job here. I don't like stage racing, but, I mean, outside of that, you're not going to fix that. NASCAR's doing that. So outside of that, man, that race was a great race.
Yeah. I mean, what's your opinion? I want to hear what you think of Suarez, though, because we're just talking about him a little bit.
I think we're going to see many teams like that throughout the season kind of get their glory, if you will, and that's what the car was built around. It was built around, that small team having a shot again, going up against your Hendricks, going up against your Gibbs, going up against your Stewart Haas. So I think that those guys are going to have a decent run. You got Trackhouse, you got 23 XI. I think they could have a win or two with Kurt and Bubba, and I think the small teams, we're going to see a little more competition from them throughout the season. Which also you're going to get guys like Kyle Busch in that situation. If he goes toe to toe with Daniel Suarez, he's going to come off the track if Daniel Suarez ends up getting into him, crying a river. But. But I mean, that's where you're going to see, these guys that, and I'm not putting Daniel Suarez down because I think he's a solid driver, but in that situation, maybe a smaller, newer guy in the game have more power than what he's used to, than what NASCAR's used to, and him getting up into that mix and really mixing it up there. So I definitely see some curveballs being thrown by the smaller teams here this season.
Yeah, and you know what? I do want to. Well, obviously, I want to shout out Kyle Busch for how impressive was that, man? 5 laps down and almost
he held on to it.
Top 10.
He held on to it.
But how about a shout out though? So we talk about all these big teams and some of the smaller teams, but what about guys like Garrett Smithley and BJ McLeod? 21st, 22nd, not bad run for that very, very low buck teams that we have still in NASCAR. I think this brand new car has literally changed the whole aspect of this sport. And people are going to think I'm crazy. I wish they would fix this whole tire issue. I think
they'll have that. You have to fix that. Yeah. If they want any, because they're riding the high right now. They're riding that momentum. If they want NASCAR to continue in this direction of bigger crowds, bigger views on TV, they got to fix that tire issue because that's bad. That's bad. That's F1 USGP bad right there.
Yeah, and not like it's not like you and I are going to sit here and say we have the solution to the problem. Like we're not experts. Like we can't tell them what to do, but
you got to fix it. You got to fix it. I see there's a problem.
They have a good product with this car, and that's what makes this great. Is I think the product that they're putting on track is awesome, but the tire issue is just going to be a killer. Wait till you get to track like Indianapolis when they had that big tire issue for the Brickyard the one year when Montoya was dominating that race.
Well, it's on the road course here this year, so it's not.
Still, No, but I'm just saying, like, if they have a tire issue like that, where
Right,
like
absolutely, yeah. Or I was there. Yeah, I really wish you didn't bring that back up because I remember sitting in the stands like every 6 laps. It's a caution. It's like, you guys got to be kidding me. I looked down at my lemonade because I got one. I always get one of those shake-ups, the good lemonades, with the pound of sugar in there. I looked down at my lemonade shake-up. It has got a thick layer of rubber sitting on top of the lemonade. It was nasty. I was covered in rubber that day. You go home, you're taking a shower, you're sneezing, you're blowing rubber out of your nose. That was bad. So I don't know if it's that bad, but it definitely has the capability, like you're saying, to get that bad.
Oh my god, I just think though, like, so next week they go to Las Vegas, and then Phoenix. And then we get to see the new Atlanta after that. So, like, we got a good
it's just solid. Yeah, absolutely. NASCAR fans, get ready. It's going to be a fun March.
Racing fans in general should be excited because, like, I saw somebody, I don't know if it was I think it was the YouTube here with Joe, brought up about, speaking of F1, the Mazepin thing is weird. But, like, F1's debuting a new car. NASCAR debuted a new car. IndyCar has a good product right now. I mean, we're talking, I think we got a pretty good year of some good racing as race fans across the board, to be honest with you. At least I'm hoping that we're going to have a great year of racing across the board for all the sports.
Yeah, I agree with you there. IndyCar is coming out with a new product next year too, so I mean they're rolling it down. It's going to be a solid year. I agree, and man, I look forward to it. So. Anything else to add here tonight, sir?
Yeah, I actually kind of want to talk about the little F1 here since Joe brought it up in that YouTube comment about the whole Mazepin thing. For those that aren't watching or haven't paid attention to anything going on in the world, obviously we got a bit of a conflict going on, and the F1 directors and everything canceled the Russian Grand Prix because of it. So
now the FIA did come out today and say that Russian drivers are not going to be disqualified from competing. They can still compete under a neutral flag. They can't put Russia out there. But I mean, my 2 cents on the Mazepin deal. You came to F1 with that sponsor. That sponsor's no longer there. Your dad's an oligarch in that Russian country there. I mean, you got ties to Putin. Get out. You don't need to be here.
I agree.
And it's nothing against Matt, because you can go back. You can listen to what I've said on the show. I am not against Mazepin. I don't think people give him the credit, because I think he had a decent F2. I thought he was a decent driver. But at the end of the day, your dad's tied to the dude doing this, and there's no room for you in this right now, I guess. So you've got to go.
Right. And I think the guy that's going to get the short end of the stick, but it's going to benefit somebody else, is Haas. I mean, Haas is going to lose out on a big-time sponsor.
He says he still has something like in his back pocket. And I'm wondering if it's something to do with Mick, that they pretty much had said, like, hey, we'll help Mick out in this situation because we know what it means to his career. So possibly a German company, something like that they've got sitting in the wings. Possibly Andretti, maybe for the next couple of years to step in and maybe help out there.
That's what I was leaning towards, though, because Andretti put that bid in to have an F1 team, which I think is great for everybody. I think Andretti would be a good asset. That opens up the door now for him to possibly be the next American team. I don't know if Haas is going to be able to maintain, to be honest with you, with the way they haven't really panned out in the sport. And now with this whole thing with the sponsorship and even with Mazepin, like, I don't know if they can survive. And I think this is a great opportunity for Andretti.
Yeah, and I would completely agree with you. But Haas has been on the record many times so far saying that I'm not going anywhere. We're good right now. We're okay. But Andretti came on the record just a couple days ago and said, this dude's weird. It's like he's not the easiest guy to communicate with. I've been trying to talk to him. If he wants to talk to me about doing it at this point, he can call me. So, I thought that was kind of interesting there as well. It'll all be fun to see how it all mixes up. I don't want to go too deep into F1 because I want to hit that before that first race, or maybe the week before Drive to Survive comes back, because that's one of my favorite shows on Netflix.
Oh, I can't
absolutely
wait.
love it.
I cannot wait.
I went to go get the McLaren Technics today, and they were sold out. So, but I did get this bad boy so far, and I'm kind of working on that right now. I know Joe, he's watching. He'd be happy there. It's a little Mercedes deal. Let's see.
Ugh.
I just did it because of the
Hey, my partner
little
in crime,
combo there.
my partner in crime over here sneezed at that same thing. So I'm just to give you a heads up. The real boss. I'm trying to keep him under control here. He's all fired up tonight.
Anything else you want to add to the mixer?
Nah, man. It's been a long week. It's been a long time. It feels like it's been a long time since we did a show.
Long time.
Yeah, so it feels good that we did one again. For everybody that watched, I hope you enjoyed the entertainment of my four-legged friend that I have with me. He's he likes to participate in the show apparently, so maybe I'll have to bring him on and he can take my spot, I guess. I don't know.
he says, there you go. Guys, thank you so much for tuning in. We'll get our picks out here for the weekend later this week. You guys are awesome. Thank you for watching here, Checkers and Wreckers. Matt, thank you so much, sir.
Yeah, thanks. And shout out to everybody watching. I know there was some new people watching, some old people watching. Hope you guys enjoyed. Tune in next time. And can't wait to see you all again.
Absolutely. Thank you. And you. And you. Not you, Kyle. Not you. You move. Thank you. Behind Kyle, though.